All right, fans, it's the Combatcast. We're coming at you live on a Monday, 6 p.m. We're going to talk about the PFL 2023 World Championship very briefly tonight because that was not what we had planned, but a little miscommunication here. I'll take the heat. And then we're going to talk about this upcoming UFC Fight Night, which is stacked. And before we do any of this, Chevy, as always, tell people we got coming up.
All right, December 9th. Can't believe we're in December already. December 9th, UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez from China. And then December 16th, UFC, closing out the UFC year 296, Edwards versus Covington. I took a peek at that card earlier today. The entire card is stacked. I'm very, very excited for that. And then December 23rd, we're going to be doing our 2023 wrap-up show for the year. We'll talk about our favorite fights and our favorite cards and everything we loved about 2023.
Yeah, and there was a lot of good stuff in 2023, too. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily care for as well, but...
A lot of belts changing hands I didn't think were going to change hands. A lot of belts residing with champions I didn't foresee for sure, so... we'll get the episode, but Sean O'Malley, Sean Strickland is what comes to mind immediately. Like, I did not see that happen in any universe. So Duplessis beating Whitaker, I didn't see that. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, it was a crazy year.
All right, let's hop to this because we didn't really plan for this, but the PFL World Championship was this past weekend, and they had a card. And we're just going to kind of breeze through this a little bit here. All right. So let's look at here. We had Derek Brunson on this card. He got a win over Mercier, Ray Cooper III.
Who missed weight, I believe.
Yep. This was a catch weight at 187. Yeah. Brunson afterwards called out Jake Paul. He's trying to get that Jake Paul money in that MMA fight. Good for you. Probably not going to happen. Kayla Harrison beat Aspen Ladd at another catchweight fight, but I think that was agreed upon ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Again, no real surprise decision. This is a name Chevy will help me with. Impa?
Yeah, Kasanagane, I believe.
Yep, light heavyweight. He won a decision. There's a lot of decisions on this card. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Magomed
Magomedkerimov.
Yeah. Submission. So he kept this card alive here. A third round submission, guillotine choke. Larissa.
I don't know. Pacheco.
Yeah, she's the one that defeated Kayla Harrison. Oh, no, it was her third try. And but nonetheless, no one else has done that. And she successfully won a decision. Renan Ferreira. I'll call him that. That was a heavyweight fight. That did end in TKO. Heavyweight got it done, thank God, because who wants to see two heavyweights go to decision here on this card? And I would say the story of the night: Oliver Aubin-Mercier wins a 5-round decision over Clay Collard. And I say this is the story of the night because let's be honest. Here's a guy who was probably going to be in the middle of the pack of the UFC. And now it's his second year in a row. He's won $2 million. So I think that's the coolest story coming out of this show.
Yeah, awesome for him. Like you were saying, we were talking about before, it's a bummer for these UFC fighters making 20-20, looking across the aisle over at OAB or OAM, and he's $2 million richer, beating people that they probably feel they could beat. But yeah. Good for Olivier,
Yeah.
Doing what needs to be done. I did predict a boring 5-round decision that he would grind out, and that's what he did.
He did. Yeah, we both did. So, no surprises, but again, congrats to him. And, I'll say one other guy too, Derek Brunson. Congrats to him on getting the win over Roy Cooper III, who's no joke. And
Right. Yeah, he is a very dangerous opponent. So props to Derek Brunson for sure.
So we'll see how his career plays out at this point. But hey, man, let's get to this UFC Fight Night because I think a friend of ours said, this is one title fight away from this could have been a pay-per-view.
Yeah, this could be, legitimate pay-per-view card. Maybe not the highest level, not this Kobe Covington, Leon Edwards card, but I would certainly pay for this UFC fight night before I would have paid for that PFL season championship. I'll tell you that much. So let's get into it. We're going to go through the whole card today, the whole main card, but on the prelims, shout out to Misha Tate, Clay Guida, a couple of old school vets getting in there. So good luck to them. But main card, Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stolfus.
All right, both these guys probably need a win. Punahele is 9-3, 6 KOs, 2 subs, 1 decisions. He's 3-3 in the UFC. Dustin is 14-5, 2 KOs, 5 decisions, 6 subs, 1 disqualification. He's 1-4 in the UFC. So both these guys are probably back to back. They need this win. The gentleman, Poliano, whose name I struggle with, I think is probably. I think he's had a little more luck in the UFC, and I think that I'm just going to pick him by decision. I'm not really sure why or who, honestly, with this one. Maybe you can give me some insight because I just, I don't see how this is going to go down, honestly.
Yeah, Punahele relies so much on landing like 1 or 2 big hooks that it doesn't really seem to set up very well. But Dustin's in a similar position, having lost 4 of his 5 UFC fights. I would imagine whoever loses gets cut after this. So I expect a very high intensity and top level performances from both guys. I think we're going to see them at their best. They know they're on the chopping block. So I'm going to give Punahele the edge because I think Dustin is going to open himself up to getting tagged later on in the fight because he needs to push for a win. It can't be a boring decision. I think they really need to push for a win. So I'm going to go 3rd round TKO for Soriano.
Okay. I hope you're right.
All right. Moving on to Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah. No, this is a fun fight. All right. Sean Brady, 15-1, 3 KOs, 4 subs, 8 decisions. He's 5-1 in the UFC, but he's coming off his first loss to Bilal Muhammad. No shame in that, but it is his first loss, so we'll see how he deals with that. Kelvin Gastelum, this guy's been around a while now. 17-8-1, 6 KOs, 4 subs, 7 decisions. He's 12-8-1 in the UFC. He's had fight of the night 5 times, performance of the night 3 times. The thing is, he's really game. Kelvin is a guy who gave Israel Adesanya his toughest fight before, Sean Strickland or Pereira was around. And what's interesting is now we're doing this at welterweight. Kelvin has done most of his career at middleweight with a few exception fights at welterweight, but he always struggled making weight. And now he seems disciplined and ready to do this. Now, is this, maybe this should have been done earlier in his career? Now we're getting later in his career. We're going to find out. Tough fight to actually predict just because Sean Brady has had so much success at this weight class and Kelvin is relatively new to this weight class and he's getting older. But Kelvin hangs out with guys like Henry Cejudo's, winners and people who know how to win, and he's had a lot of experience in the UFC. I tend to lean towards the people who normally fight at their own weight class in these fights. We just saw what happened with Paul Craig a couple weeks ago. But I don't know. I'm feeling like Kelvin Gastelum will get this done somehow. I'm going to say it's a dogfight, but he's going to choke him out in round 2.
Really? He's going to choke out Sean Brady? So Sean looked like a contender before that loss to Bilal. I respect his excellent ground game, but honestly, if Bilal was able to stop him on the feet, which he did, Bilal's not really known for his striking. Kelvin is. He has excellent boxing. He should stop him pretty easily, I think. Kelvin really should have been a welterweight his entire career. Like you mentioned, just maybe a discipline issue before, but he does seem in his last, few interviews in the lead up in his last fight, he looked like a world beater again. So, he seems very focused, and I I like a focused Kelvin Gastelum. I think he's going to get a round 2 TKO after stuffing a few takedowns. And I think if he stays active, he could be champ next year. He is really that talented.
I do want to clarify what I meant, I should say. When I say he's going to choke him out, I think he's going to rock Sean Brady. And then he's going to do a rear naked choke. That's my prediction anyway. Let's just say. So.
All right. Another super fun fight. Looking forward to this one. Rob Font is welcoming Davison Figueiredo to bantamweight.
Yes. And I'm going to have to look some stuff up here because I forgot to put Davidson's record here. But Rob Font, 20-7, 9 KOs, 4 subs, 7 decisions. He's lost 3 out of his last 4. Now, he was injured. But if you look at those 3, it's Marlon Vera, Jose Aldo, Corey Sandhagen, and all by decision. So Rob is one of those guys. He's always near the top. He's just on the outside of like that top 5. It always feels like 10-6 in the UFC. All right, now Davison Figueiredo. I don't have his stats, but
I have his stats. He's 21-3, 9 KOs, 8 submissions, 4 decisions.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't even really need this guy's stats. This guy was the best, one of the best flyweights of all time. All right. I mean, he's probably, in the top 3, I would say. We're going to see how Pantasia does as time goes on. He might be in number 4. But, I think Mighty Mouse, all right, Brandon Moreno, and Davidson. Davidson, because that lengthy rivalry they had where they had 4 fights.
What about Cejudo? You're not going to put Cejudo in there?
I always kind of forget about Cejudo because he won the title and then went to bantamweight right away. But, we'll see. But anyway, my point is Davidson's one of the best at that division. But like you said, now we're going to go to the bantamweight division. So this is a completely different animal. Much kind of like our last fight, right? We're going to see how somebody reacts in a different weight class. But Davidson's going up. And it's an interesting fight. I think Davidson could be a real problem for some of these people at bantamweight. But there is that size, So I say all that and say he could be a problem, and I'm picking Rob Font by decision. I think it's going to be fireworks, though. This is not going to be a boring decision. I think this will be fireworks all 3 rounds.
Yeah, incredibly interesting fights. Like you were saying, lots of questions with Figueiredo moving up. We know he had that hard time with the 125 cut, so 135. Even though he is a small guy, he's very dense, so probably his natural weight class. But bantamweight is one of the best weight classes in the promotion for sure. Super stacked, and he's fighting a top 10 guy right away. But the weight cut issues moving up, and plus the fact that we've only seen him versus Moreno in the last 3 years. We haven't really seen him against much, Moreno has a specific, although he's well-rounded, he has a specific style that maybe matchup-wise was Figueiredo's dynamite or kryptonite, So Rob Font's going to offer a different problem for him to solve. Excellent boxing. Rob's been on hard times. I think he's primed and ready to get back on track because he is a great fighter. And I think this is the perfect matchup for him. Figueiredo, not super interested in grappling. He will take it down there. He has skills, but he would much rather stay on the feet. And that's the same with Rob. He would much rather stay on the feet. He has massive hands for the division. He hits very hard. Excellent boxing skills. So I think I think I'm gonna go with Rob. Also, I'm gonna go with him by decision. I don't think he finishes Figueiredo, but I think we're gonna see a good fight. But I'm gonna pick Rob by decision.
I think we're on the same page with that one. But all right, co-main event, man.
All right, Jalen Turner versus Bobby Green.
All right, Turner taking this fight on short notice too. Should point out for Dan Hooker. Turner's 13-7, 9 KOs, 4 subs. He's got 2 losses in a row. One is to Gamrot, and one is to Dan Hooker, who he took this fight for. Both were split decision losses. So two very talented fighters that he lost close fights to. In the case with Hooker, I think Hooker really needed that win, so he was very motivated. He's 6-4 in the UFC, but before those two close losses, Turner was on a 5-fight win streak. So I got to think he's really, really hungry to get back in there. He's a dynamic fighter. But Bobby Green, 31-14-1, 11 KOs, 9 subs, 11 decisions. This guy's had a submission in the night because he's been around that long. Performance of the night 3 times. Most significant strikes in UFC lightweight division history. Fight of the night 4 times. Like, Green is just an all-action, exciting fighter, and maybe even to his downfall sometimes. Like, maybe he could be a little more technical, but he doesn't want to be a boring fighter. He wants to be an exciting fighter. I think he's had some of his best fights in recent memory in the last year. He's had a few tough losses. He's not a guy that seems like he's going to break into that top 5, but he's always having great, exciting fights. This is a tough one because I feel like stylistically, they're going to play into each other's hands. They're going to light each other up. Man, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Bobby Green because Turner's taking this on short notice. And I'll say Turner maybe even gasses out by round 3 and Bobby gets a finish in the 3rd.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, but I really, really wanted to see the Hooker versus Green fight. But this is still an excellent matchup. So, I'm not bummed out by this at all. So I actually think it's a bit tougher of a matchup for Bobby, though, stylistically. Jalen won't just go to war like Dan would. He's going to use his reach and his front kick to touch up Bobby while staying out of range of Bobby's great counters. He likes to shoulder roll, keep his hands down, and come back with counters. But Jalen's so tall, so long, and he uses his range very well. I think he's going to be outside of the range for those counters. So, and if he does get in close, he has very underrated grappling too. So if he gets in close, he can tie up Bobby, maybe land an elbow on the break and get back to that long range. So, but if Bobby does land on him, he can finish him. Jalen has been hurt before. Bobby's a hard puncher, very accurate, very fast. He hits you from angles where you don't see it coming, and those are the ones that knock people out. So I'm not sleeping on Bobby, but I am going to pick Jalen by decision. I think is a more likely scenario the way it plays out. But like you were saying, his cardio better be on point because statistically, I think the guy who takes it on short notice, not great chances. So, All right, let's move on to this main event. I've been excited for this one for a while since this got excited. So, Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan.
Arman Tsarukyan, he is 20-3, 8 KOs, 5 subs, 7 decisions. This guy lost his debut fight to Islam Makhachev, all right, in a fight of the night. Okay, that's about as tough as it gets to make your debut. His only other loss was to Gamrot, too. All right, and both those were fight of the nights. All right, performance of the night twice. He is the real deal. And Dariush, 22-5-1, 5 KOs, 8 subs, 9 decisions. He's won 8 out of his last 9. All right. Before that recent loss, he hadn't lost to like 2018. All right. His performance of the night 4 times, fight of the night once, and tied Gleison Tibal for 3rd most wins in UFC lightweight division history. All right. So it's an interesting fight. Dariush was a guy who was pretty much almost there for a title shot. And, Arman is no slouch. This is not an easy road here for him. This is a tough fight to pick. I'm going to lean Dariush. I'll say he gets him late. 4th round submission. Much like Gaston. I think he will catch him on his feet and then maybe get a choke in or something.
Yeah, Beneil doesn't always fight to his full potential. He can be drawn into wars and then get caught and lose. I think he knows that now. He's older. He's matured. He needs to be at his best to be a relatively unknown Arman Tsarukyan. I think that Arman is a dark horse in the division for sure. This is a big step up in competition. Yes, he's fought Islam and he's fought Gamrot, but those are his 2 losses. The other guys he's beat are nowhere near the level of a Dariush. So Arman only loses to the top level guys that can nullify his grappling. And guess what? Dariush is among the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts in the world. So at least in MMA for sure. So I'm a fan of both guys. I'm pulling for Dariush at this point in his career, though, because it is so much later in his career. And he did put together that great run and then ended up getting stopped by Charles Oliveira. So I'm pulling for Dariush, and I'm going to pick him. I'm going to say round 3 sub. I think Arman can get tired out a little bit, and Dariush will put pressure on him. I think he tires him out and catches him in the 3rd with a sub.
Okay. Well, there we go. I mean, should be a fun fight card. 7 p.m. start, right, for the main card?
That's right. 4 p.m. for prelims, 7 p.m. for the main card.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's tell people we got coming up one more time.
All right, December 9th, UFC Fight Night Song versus Gutierrez. December 16th, UFC 296 Edwards versus Covington. And then December 23rd, we're going to be doing our 2023 wrap-up show.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.